Hey, it's Cobra here at MaddenGuides.com, and for this Madden Tips video breakdown, I want to continue the series of reading man or zone coverage pre-snap, and this one we're going to do it from the gun trips tied in. So let's go ahead and get into the play call screen here so we can look at the formation. As you can see, the one we're going to break down, again, it's going to be called the gun trips tied in. You'll find this one out of the Bills playbook if you're following along. It's in a couple other playbooks as well. On the defensive side of the ball, we're going to start off with the nickel 2-4-5 out of the Patriots playbook if you're following along. All right, let's go ahead and get on the field here, and we'll kind of walk you through as far as how you can read some coverages. I'm going to go ahead and choose the verticals play. I think a lot of us like this particular play, so I'm going to go ahead and run that one. And then we're going to start off pretty much like I've been doing. We're going to start off with a cover 3 defense, cover 3 sky, so you guys can kind of see what it looks like here as far as what the coverages are looking like. All right, the very first thing I want you guys to know right now, baseline is turned off. We'll get into that here in just a bit as we get through the video, and we'll kind of get a little bit more in detail about that. So right now, as far as being able to tell if it's zone coverage right off the bat, I know in a lot of the breakdowns, at least the first breakdown I showed, I talked about this receiver here was the one that you could hot route. For example, you could go ahead and put him on a streak. I know he's running a fade route, but that's one of the things you can do. You don't have to do that with this one. The receiver that you really want to look at for this one from the trips formation is actually going to be this one here. That's the receiver that you're going to look for. It's the inside slot receiver if he's right there, because the defender that's covering him, if it's man coverage, you'll see that it's the corner that it's to the right side of your screen. In this case, it's going to be the left cornerback who's lined up over here. If it's man coverage, you're going to see in just a second, he's actually not going to be lined up there. He's actually going to be moved up into this area of the field, and that's what you're going to see. So one of the things you can do for a tip-off, especially if you're playing a team with an X factor or a superstar rating, you'll notice that this defender right here, this corner, is a star or has an X underneath him, so that tells you he's a superstar type player or an X factor. So that's one thing you can do tip off right off the bat. You can use that to your advantage because it's kind of an indication of where he's always at. So if they go into man coverage, let's go into man coverage right now. Watch what happens with him. You'll see that he ends up coming over here, and then he's lined up right here now. So you can see that that's man coverage. Let's go back into the same, let's go back into the Tampa 2. And again, you're going to see he lines up over here, as you can see on your screen as you're looking at it. So you can see he's lined up there now. So again, that's zone coverage. So if he lines up about 4 to 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, off to the right of the tight end, assuming that you're in the tight end formation, there's gun trips tight end formation here, and you don't have it flipped, he's going to be lined up to the right of him about, I don't know, about 5 yards off the line of scrimmage and a few yards to the right. So just look at that. That's the key right there for this particular formation. You'll be able to tell right off the bat if it's man or zone coverage simply by looking at that. So that's a big tip-off. Another thing is, let's go back in here. Let's go into base align here and take a look at this. I want to show this to you. So in base align, against this particular formation, the corner is going to be lined up way out here to the right. So if you see him lined up out here, more than likely they're in base align. Now, does that mean you can tell the coverage? Well, let's look at it and see what that tells us as we go back in here. Let's go back into base align again. And you can see, let's do this one out of this particular formation. All right, there it is right there. If you go ahead and look, what you're going to be able to see is if it basically looks like cover 3, for example, though, again, the corner that was lined up, as I remember, we talked about him over on the right-hand side earlier. Again, he's lined up over here. So that's going to tell you that it's man coverage. Now, if it's base align, let's go back to base align. He's going to move all the way back over here. So he's lined up way over there again. So right there at this point, I'll make one suggestion to you guys. If you see a receiver, or excuse me, if you see the corner lined up right here, if you see him lined up way out there to the right of the screen, I would probably hot route my tight end on a slant or perhaps maybe even a drag. Let's go ahead and put him on a drag. And the reason I'm going to tell you guys this, let's look at this. If it's man coverage, and the fact of the matter is that this corner right here is covering him, So if he's in man coverage and he's covering him over in that area there, that means if you're running this route here and you're running across the field with your tight end, that means that defender's got to come all the way across to try to cover that route, and that's not going to happen. I can tell you that right now. No matter what your opponent thinks he can do, he's not going to be able to cover that. You're going to get that all day long. So if you're not sure if it's zone or man, even if because it's kind of hard to tell if it's man or zone if they're in base line, but what's not bad about it is you can run that crossing route or short drag or shallow crossing route underneath, and as you know, against zone and man coverage, that route's pretty effective most of the time. So you're going to have an option to throw to, and you just go ahead and throw that ball to him, and you're going to complete, nice play and get them out of that base of line. So that would be my suggestion, is to go ahead. Let's go ahead and go into cover 2 here, and then we'll call base of line. So let's go ahead and call base of line. So there's the base of line. Again, you can see that the corner is lined up way out here to the right. You can see right there. And then we're just going to go ahead, because I don't know for sure if it's man or zone right off the bat. I'm not 100% sure. But if I just go ahead and put them on a crossing route or shallow drag, then I know that I can just make that throw there, and I know I have that for some nice yardage. So that's one of the things I would probably do if I seen my opponent, if I was coming out in this formation and I saw that they had that corner lined up way on the outside. Let's go ahead and do another thing. Let's go back into base of line here again against a zone defense. So keep in mind we're in cover 3, right? This is the cover 3 defense I was talking about earlier. So let's go ahead and put them on a shallow cross. And it just, you still have them there even against that particular formation, even though you might pick up a lot of yards, but you still picked up 3 or 4 yards there. So you could still run that. And keep in mind, if you've got a zone beater called, then you don't have to throw to the tight end. That just gives you another option to throw to, just because he's running that crossing route or that shallow crossing route underneath. So just keep that in mind as you're running that. So at any rate, that's kind of what I wanted to go through with this breakdown. Let's go ahead and look at one more quick formation. Got a little bit of time here. Let's go ahead and look at one more formation here and take a look at it. Let's go ahead and run it out of the dime here and do the same thing just so you guys can see it. So we're going to run it to 2-3-6. We'll call that cover 3 sky defense here. And then we're going to go back into the gun trips tied in formation here. And we'll just call this double in cell play. Don't really matter. So there it is right there. And you can see, as you look at it, you can see where the corner's lined up at. He's lined up to the outside. If it's man coverage, let's go call man defense here. You're going to find that he comes across, and he's going to be lined up right here. And as I said before, if he's a superstar and he's got an X lined up, you know where he's always at. That's not going to hurt you. So you got that down. And if you see that, you know it's man coverage. If they go baseline, which they may, if they go baseline, simply hot route your tight end on a drag route underneath. Just run that shallow crossing type route right there. Of course, with this particular play, you got those other guys coming underneath, but that's fine. We'll just go ahead and run it anyways. And you got them there again. So I have no problem doing that. And that type, actually, the safety ended up covering them, but I have no problem doing that with what I would run based on that. That's how I would end up doing it. The only reason that, if you go back in here, and I want to show this to you since we're running this, let's go ahead and call base of line. And actually, let's call cover 2, let's call that silver pinch play. And then we're in base of line. The only reason that, if you watch and you saw that safety went and covered a tight end on that one, and then this is reason the safety covered him, is because that running back's running that flat route out towards the right. As you can see on your screen right there, he's running that flat route. So what happens is, with the coverages here, by default, if you go look at it right now, you'll see that this guy right here is covering the halfback, and then the corner's covering the tight end. Well, when that running back runs that flat route, then the corner actually ends up covering him, and then this safety ends up covering the tight end. That's the reason you saw the switch there. But you can take care of that if you want. You can go ahead and run this route here, have him run that route. And what you're going to find is that corner's got to come all the way across more than likely. Yeah, actually, he didn't come across, but I thought maybe the corner would come all the way across, but I forgot to do one last thing when I did that. Hold on a second here. I'll show you this one last thing on that. There's why I did that. All right, so let's go ahead and put the halfback on the route to the left. We'll put the tight end also on the crosser, or on the shallow crossing route. Got to call Basic line. A lot going on here for me to set this up for you guys, but there you go right there. All right, now watch what happens. See, now he's got to come all the way across, and you still get that action going on there as far as getting the tight end open. So just kind of keep that in mind as you guys go through this. As I'm breaking these coverages down, these pre-snap reads, as far as being able to tell if it's man or zone coverage, go into the lab, do some different things, and just look at it, just like I'm doing here for the breakdown that I'm showing you guys, because it gives you different ideas. And again, if you're playing in a connected franchise and you're playing the same player over and over, say he's in your conference or in your division, whatnot, and say you got, in this case, the Bills got to play the Patriots twice since they're in the East, and you know your opponent likes to run a lot of man coverage, then, or he likes to come out in a specific defensive formation he likes to run a lot of, then you can go lab all your favorite plays that you like to run and then kind of see how it works out for you. And that way you get a little better idea. I mean, this is what they do in real football as far as with film study goes. During the week, they're sitting in that film. You know, they're not out running around on the field all day long and all that. They're sitting in the film watching this stuff, doing the exact same thing that I'm doing here with you guys. So just, check that out. And that's some stuff you guys can do to help with your, reading man or zone coverage before the snap. It's nothing that anyone out here can't do. It's just a matter of putting a little bit of time into it and getting in the lab and doing it. All right, guys, enough of my spill there. So, again, this is reading man or zone coverage pre-snap from the Gun Trips tight end. Hey Madden gamers, if you enjoy this Madden video or any other video, please subscribe to the Madden Guides YouTube channel. And as always, thanks for watching and for your support.